Hello, this is Jamie Magridge. Welcome to Jamie's Craft Table. Today I'm going to be showing you how I made this card. It's really quite simple, so let's get started. I'm going to be using Pacific Point and Just Jade ink. I'm going to be using a sponge dauber. I'm using Positive Thoughts. I'm using this feather. I'm just going to be using part of this sentiment. I don't want this bottom half, I just want the top half. So I'm going to show you how to do that. There's also dies that match that. I forgot Nature's Thoughts dies. I'm going to be using those as well. Okay, I have a 1/2 inch scrap of Pacific Point. I have a scrap of Whisper White to stamp my sentiment on. I have a 1/4 sheet of Whisper White. You don't need this much, but to stamp my feathers on. And then I have a thick white card base, 5.5 by 8.5, scored and folded at 4 1/4. I also have 2 pieces that I cut out from the stitched rectangles. This is the largest and the second largest. The largest one I cut out of Pacific Point. The second largest I cut out of white. And then I'm going to be using this to cut out my feathers. And this die, I don't remember if it's Stampin'Up or not. I don't remember which one it came out of. But that's what I'm going to use to cut out my sentiment. Okay, so let's put this aside for now. And you're going to need something to clean your stamp off with. Okay, so let's, what I'm going to do first, because it looks like I didn't clean it last time well enough anyways. I'm going to clean that stamp good, make sure it's good and clean, make sure it's dry. And I'm going to start with the Pacific Point. And I'm going to stamp 3 feathers with the Pacific Point. This is really inky. I might need to brush it back, but I think it's working. So, okay, I'm going to stamp 3 in Pacific Point, and I'm going to clean this off. Probably should have gone the other way and started with the other ones, but well, I need that still open. And this is Just Jade. I'm going to ink it with Just Jade. And I'm going to come in with the sponge dauber on the Pacific Point. I'm just going to pick a couple areas and add some Pacific Point on there. And I'm going to stamp, and I need 3 of these. Each one will be a little bit different. I'm going to clean it off in between so I can stamp back in the light color. Sponge dauber. Let's do this one at the tip this time. Wash it off. Just Jade. Let's do this one on this side. Oh, sponge dauber just. Alright. Let's close up the Pacific Point. I'm done with it. I'm going to go ahead and wash this off. Okay, now I'm going to, I actually could use just this one instead of that scrap. So I'm going to bring in a Post-it note and my stamp, and it has the 2 lines of stamps. Set this aside for a minute. And I'm going to Post-it note off the sentiment, the bottom half of it. Sorry about the noise, my cat's playing with his toy. Okay. And this is kind of a big piece, so I'm going to actually trim it because I don't need quite that much of it. And I'll make it a little easier. And I'm going to snip off this one corner, just the tip of it. Go ahead and stick that on there. Make sure I'm getting the bottom of my letters there. Okay, now I'm going to ink this up in the Just Jade. Take my Post-it note off. Go ahead and stamp this. Awesome. Make sure you throw this away so you don't get it on anything. That's all the stamping. I'm going to bring in my feather die. I'm going to die cut out these feathers. I'm going to take this banner die. You could just cut it out with a... And I'm going to cut it out like this. And it's a little bit long, and then I'll just do the fishtail on the other side. And I will be right back once I get that done. Okay, I'm back. I've got all my feathers, and I've got the banner. And I'm just going to snip this a little bit shorter. And I'm going to go ahead and manually do this side. Okay. Doesn't match 100%, but it's good. Okay, then I'm going to bring in this 1/4 inch strip, and I'm going to adhere this to that, and then cut it to length. And let's bring in some glue here. This one's almost empty. I might have to get out another one. And let's get out another glue. That one's almost empty. They come with this plastic on them. Let's peel that off. Open it up. Much nicer when they're full. Okay. Go ahead and put that on there like that. I'm going to bring in my snips. I'm just going to snip it just about 1/8 of an inch away from the tips of the banners, so that they're the same on both sides. Okay, let's go ahead and flip this over. I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back. Okay, I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to bring in my feathers, and I'm going to put dimensionals on the back of those. All 6 of them. I think I want to put another one on there. Yep, let's put that second one. Then they won't get squashed in the mail. Okay. Let's bring in our other pieces. I'm going to set these aside, and I'm going to go ahead and mount this white piece that we die cut out, the second of the largest of the stitch rectangles. I'm going to center that up on this Pacific Point one, which is the largest one. And in case you don't have it, the largest one is 3 3/4. 3 3/4 by 5, 5 1/8. 3 3/4 by 5 would work. Go ahead and mount that on the front of our card. Okay, we're going to pull off the backings on the banner. We're going to center that right across the center of the card. Okay, this doesn't look straight. I gotta straighten that up. It's going to bug me. Well, I don't know if I can. Okay, now we're going to take our feathers and we're going to put 2 the Pacific Point ones down here with a colored one in the center, and then on the top we're going to do it just the opposite. 2 colored ones and a Pacific Point in the center. And I found it easiest for this instance to put the center one on first. So kind of lay them where you want them. Put the center ones in. Not a difficult card. The only difficult part was getting that mask just to get the sending positive thoughts. There we go. Now the finishing touch. I brought in some of these metallic pearls. Let me take your pick tool. I'm going to put 2 on each end of this banner. There we go. Here's the card we just made together. Here's the one I did previously. Well, thank you so much for joining me today at Jamie's Craft Table. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope you can find a little bit of time to play with some stamps, ink, and paper.